Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. The former WBO champion Joseph Parker will take on the faded former title contender Alex Leapai in a gross mismatch on June 29th in Providence, Rhode Island. That will be on the undercard of the Andrade and Sulecki fight. So Leapai is the confirmed opponent. Not Eric Molina. That was the originally listed opponent. It never got over the line. Don King, money, all sorts of factors involved there. The contract was never signed by Molina. In steps Alex Leapai, who hasn't had a relevant or significant win for about 6 years now. So I don't hold much hope for Leapai. He's calling himself the Samoan Andy Ruiz Jr. So I'll get to some quotes a little bit later on, but also for Joseph Parker, a couple of other thoughts about a meaningful fight, because this is not it. And when you think about it, his last meaningful fight was a year ago. So we'll get to that soon. But yeah, this whole fight, I mean, it was never going to be anyone good. His deal with Matchroom was announced the day before the June 1st fight between Andy Ruiz Jr. and Anthony Joshua. They used the platform of that event to get the announcement made, a bit more press and publicity. It made sense to do it. But for whatever reason, they haven't been able to secure a decent opponent, or maybe it was always going to be a soft touch. There was actually someone who suggested in a previous comment section, a lot of these DAZN fighters are getting a really soft touch for their first fight. And I thought, actually, that's bang on the money. Jarrell Miller, he faced a rinsed Thomas Adamek. You had Filip Hrgovic facing Gregory Corbin. You had Michael Hunter facing Fabio Maldonado. All of those guys were heavy favourites, expected to have no trouble, and they didn't with their opponents. And this is the same sort of scenario. Not exactly a fight that we wanted to see. No one's calling for it. I think the result is not in doubt. I mean, there's the old sort of, it's heavyweight boxing, yada, yada, yada. But Alex Leapai is not on the level of Andy Ruiz Jr. He's a faded husk of himself. Ruiz Jr., we knew he had something about him heading into that fight, but we obviously thought Joshua would beat him. A very different scenario here, as it was a different scenario for Tom Schwartz versus Tyson Fury. There's levels, and Alex Leapai has seen better days. Since he lost to Vladimir Klitschko back in, 2014, then he lost to Malik Scott, and he also lost to Manuel Charr. He had 3 on the trot. Then he retired for a couple of years. He's had 3 nothing fights in 2017 and 2018 collectively, and now he's facing Joseph Parker, a guy generally regarded as a top 10 fighter in the heavyweight division. Alex Leapai, where is he here? He's actually ranked 58th. I think that's being generous given how faded he is now in the recent body of work. But BoxRec is a system that even if you haven't had any meaningful fights for quite a while, or any meaningful wins, you still have the weight of your previous performances under your belt. So you're going back a number of years, almost 6 to 10 years, to get the best of Alex Leapai's record. And even then, he was never that great. The record, 32-7-4. Now at 39 years old, I mean, Joseph Parker needs to go in there and do a number on him. Really does. And if he's going to be fighting on DAZN, they need to be able to market him, and getting a very vicious and brutal knockout in this fight is something that he should be looking for. And against a guy who is effectively tailor-made for him, he's going to get hit a lot and hurt and probably knocked out in early fashion. Getting back to what I was saying before, it's been a year since Joseph Parker had a meaningful fight. He was out for a number of months before he fought Alexander Flores at the back end of 2018. 3-round knockover job. Flores never expected to trouble him, and he didn't. Although there were some controversial circumstances around repeated low blows from Joseph Parker. That's by the by. I mean, he doesn't need to resort to those sorts of tactics to take a guy like Leapai out. This is a retirement sort of payday for Leapai. There is actually one person who comes to the channel every now and then and actually says that Alex Leapai can beat every heavyweight in the division. It's either a family member or Leapai himself, because I think about 99.99999% of heavyweight boxing fans do not believe that Alex Leapai is the best heavyweight in the world, because I think patently he's not. But in terms of the press release, so here on screen, Parker meets Leapai in Rhode Island. So we'll just skip down to the quotes, and don't need all the backstory. Over the past 6 years of being a professional, this is the first time that I've come into camp at a good weight. I'm enjoying camp more as a result, I think, because we're working on more skills and technique rather than focusing on losing weight. I feel faster, I feel everything is clicking, less injuries, and everything is on track. I'll just interject there. I mean, he's saying this is the first time in 6 years that he's come into camp at a good weight. He's been a professional since 2012. I mean, why is it taking this long for it to click, for him to realise that he can't sort of blow out by 20 or 30 pounds ahead of a big fight or, whatever? I think he had to lose about 25, 30 pounds ahead of the Joshua fight. I think he came into camp, was at about 266, something that his mother had sort of said to the media. So, I mean, credit for him to coming into camp, but I don't know why it's taken this long for him to, sort of realise that is actually to his benefit. So he continues, with each opponent, you see what their style brings and you adjust accordingly. What you will do in the ring, there's a lot that I'm doing that I'm excited about, just making angles and throwing different combinations, and I'm just looking forward to putting it on display on June 29. So this is, I guess the thing, this fight, this opponent, is this really where we're going to be able to see some of those changes and adjustments? It can be easy to look good against an overmatched opponent, but maybe if he gets him out of there early, and we may not get to see really some of these adjustments that he's talking about, because there has been a lot of criticism of Joseph Parker and Kevin Barry, his trainer, that they've been talking about changing things, but the more they talk about change, the more things stay the same. And with the switch recently to Matchroom, there has been a number of people commenting, is it time for Joseph Parker to change trainers? There certainly is an argument to say that, has he learned all he can from Kevin Barry? Because some of the adjustments that, things that Lennox Lewis has talked about Joseph Parker needs to work on, they haven't been fixed in recent years, and some of the flaws are there to see. But in terms of a stoppage, Parker says a stoppage would be nice. That's the goal into every fight. I just have to change the mindset to not only go there and win, but go in and KO someone and make a statement. This is my first fight with Matchroom Boxing USA in DAZN, so I want to make that statement. There's no pressure, but I do have to go out there and look good. Actually, I do think there is some pressure here, because he has to look devastating. He has to put an overmatched opponent, because this is a gross mismatch. He's got to really deal to Leapai to actually get fans going, okay, well, that one's in the books now, on to something bigger and better, because if he struggles to any extent against a faded Alex Leapai, it's going to turn people's heads, and they'll be going, what's going on here? Is he really actually, cracked up to, where we think he should be in the division right now? And then Parker goes on to talk about Dillian Whyte. What's that rematch? That's the same old broken record. Alex Leapai says, I'm the Samoan Andy Ruiz, the guy everyone writes off. This will be the second massive upset of this year, because Parker is getting sparked. Then I'm going to take Andy's Snickers off him. This is going to be an exciting fight. Oh, this is into Eddie Hearn now, so that was all from Alex Leapai. Okay, well, I like the confidence, but I think most of us... I think it's pretty short odds on Joseph Parker winning this fight and winning it in devastating fashion. But Hearn says going to be an exciting fight between two big punchers with plenty of pride on the line. When you're talking about pride is on the line, that really doesn't say much about the fight, does it? For Joe, it's about looking good and making a statement to the division that he's ready to try and reclaim his world title. For Alex, it's a shot to nothing to put himself right back in the mix. He's talking a great game, but we expect a show-stopping performance from Joseph Parker in Providence on June 29. And then it goes on to talk about the rest of the card. So, yeah, I'll just getting back to, I kind of trailed off and before, the point about Parker not being in a meaningful fight since, for a year now. By the time he is, it's going to be the best part of 15, 16, something like that, months. I do hope that they do match him a bit tougher in the second fight, because they must have a plan that it's this sort of level for the first fight. It's a bit of a gimme, showcase sort of fight, into something that is a bit tougher, but he will be the 60-40, 70-30 sort of favourite. They'll probably match him with a guy that he can beat, or would be expected to beat, someone like, for example, a Derek Chisora. A decent chunk of fans would expect Parker would get through a Chisora fight. If he uses movement and speed as he can, he could make Chisora look decidedly average, as Chisora has been shown before by the likes of Ajit Kabiel, for example. And then on to a bigger fight with a guy maybe in the top 10, top 15, something like that. That's a plan that you could sort of see that they would look to work towards. But I guess funny things happen, so we shall see what happens. But I'm not expecting any sort of Andy Ruiz upset in this fight. He's got to go in there, look devastating, and take this guy out. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.